Okay, well, I come to you from come to you from Ray's garage, as you can see. I got a suggestion from somebody out there how to paint that truck behind me, and I'm sure going to do it as soon as I can get to it. Yeah, that primer has been on there a while, so I'll have to do a little sanding on it before I put the coat paint. And I got a couple repairs to make back there, such as down there. Along the bottom down there, the rocker panel. She's getting a little rusty and crusty. I got a big hole down there. And I know you don't see it in here, but it's there. Take my word for it. When you put a grinder on it and put a little filler in it, it'll show right up, and then I'll primer it right back in. Yeah, I always take my time doing stuff like that. Sometimes it takes years for me to get from one end to the other, but I do get there someday. But I'm here today to talk to you about something that's pretty serious. I wanted to find something that maybe you guys would look up and take heart, okay? So I'm going to read something off to you here. And no, I'm not stealing information anywhere, so don't worry about me getting nailed for some kind of a copyright thing. I don't want to get one of them check marks. Okay, well, let's see here. I was looking at a video, and it said, beware of these toxic patterns. And then down below, an explanation, it says, clear signs of a narcissist. Remember when I was having trouble with that word on my last one? I kept going narcissist. Well, there is a lot of S's in there, like Mississippi. N-A-C-I-S-S-I-S-T. And just to make sure I did it right, I copied it down so that I wouldn't misspell it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in down there below, and I'm going to put it in that little informational thing down there, so that I get everything right. And what you do is you just put those things on your YouTube, for your search thing, and it'll take you right there. Now, what this is, there's some articles on what they call Stoic Journal. Stoic Journal. Now, I've read several things on there, and they're very enlightening, okay? Now, here's another one I want you to look at. This is a video on Stoic. Actually it's called Stoic, rather. I don't know why I call it Stoic. I guess it's because, well, who knows. Anyway, it says 5 signs you're dealing with an evil person. And by the way, this one that I tried to get you to do with its narcissist, one of the 5 signs of a person that is evil is narcissist. This is a good information and a good way to judge people. And I know you guys are mad at me because I was out there judging one of your fair-haired boys, and I don't mean to offend you. And you're probably getting an echo in there. I've got a different mic up here. Let's see if I can get that down a little bit. That should be a little better. There you go. Anyway, yeah, there's my favorite word again. When I was going through this, I thought, boy, that kind of fits the ticket. And I know last time I asked for explanation of different words in there, some of you gave me a pretty good shot at it, and I thought the best thing to do, excuse me while I cough, I've got a lot of extra phlegm for some reason, or phlegm. Anyway, there we go again. The articles were interesting and easy to follow. Now, these are words of wisdom from a lot of years ago. These aren't something I came up with. But they're truisms into the fact that, personalities hundreds and thousands of years ago weren't much different than they are today. And certain personalities stand out. And part of being a narcissist, I believe in my heart, is people that take advantage of the situation. You know what kind I'm talking about. They take credit when credit's not due. They take somebody else's work and claim it as theirs. There's all kinds of things that those people do. So they make mountains out of molehills. That's another thing they do. There's just a lot of things that add up. And if you look at it, you may understand of why you're experiencing so many problems down there in that little town in Florida. And yes, I'm talking about Otter Creek. Yeah, some of you would call it Crick, but that's not the way it's spelled. It's Creek, believe me. And I'm glad you're in here listening to me, because I know that it gets extremely boring to hear some old man on here with gray hair try to tell you something that he thinks he knows. But in this instance here, these are words that have come down through the centuries of a personality traits. Now, there's a lot of things on this called Stoic Journal, but I just called out two of them. There are title things on there, and you can read through the titles and get to them, and go ahead and click and open those up. And I don't think you're going to get bored, because it's going to let you have an insight of people that you deal with on a daily basis. And it'll help you in making a decision of whether you really want to be associated with them. But also, it might explain some of the problems that come up around you that aren't necessarily your fault, but you may feel like they were. This will explain it pretty thoroughly to let you know how other people will let you take the blame for their credits. And these aren't positive credits, by the way. But it sure nailed, this hit the nail on the head when I was reading these two things. The one big one was narcissist. And like I say, it's one part of the 5 signs that you're dealing with an evil person. And I thought, to me, whoops, there I go again. This thing comes loose, and I don't know why it does that. It's not supposed to. I'll bet you there's a spring that broke back there on that little lock, a little lever. It's a regular old office chair that I wore out a long time ago. By going over the narcissist one first, it kind of covers most of the bases. But the 5 signs of an evil person is a very interesting thing to look at, so that you can look at someone and maybe figure out why they do the things they do, and maybe even tick your conscience a little bit about why you shouldn't back somebody like that. But maybe, this is purely, on my part, opinion, that I think all these things are good to read. I don't see a reason not to. Now, one of the reasons I'm not taking and copying it on my channel, okay, is I already had one video taken down when I did that. Now, I'm sure they wouldn't mind if I did take pieces of it, but it's going to take time for me to get a hold of the right to take pieces of it. And they may not trust, because what would happen is they would say, well, please let us look at it and critique it before you can utilize it. And I really don't want to let somebody go over my work and change it. Not that I'm worried about it, but they might change it into something that I don't agree with, and it just ends up in a big mess. This way here, I can give you a little explanation of what's going on there, and you can make your own decision. I think they did a very good job of explaining these traits. Like I say, this is something that you would see centuries ago. So it's the wisdom of people that sat and spent maybe their whole life coming up with these things, and they are observers of life, if you will. I hope you enjoy those 2 articles. And here I'm going to go over it again with you, because I wrote the articles down here. And 5 signs you're dealing with an evil person, or with an evil person rather. And that's on Stoic Journal. And then beware these toxic patterns, clear signs of a narcissist. And that's according to Marcus Aurelius. Remember that name. You're going to think back to Roman times, I'm sure. These things have been handled down through the centuries, they're still popular to look at and teach by, and that are true today as they were back in those times. In other words, these traits that we see on people aren't new. These actually come to a lot of people naturally. It's in their bloodline, and they may not even be able to help it. These signs, I want to caution you, aren't something the good Lord would want you to copy in your own heart. So when you read it, don't read it with a part that makes you think you want to be like this person or that person. These are not signs that you want to live your life by. These are signs you want to beware of. So when you're reading it, I hope I haven't sent you down the wrong path. All I'm trying to do is give you a path of knowledge and hope that it didn't come from the tree of life so that you bite into those apples of knowledge. We really don't want that part, but we do want you to be forewarned and forearmed, forewarned about the existence of people with these traits. And they're very dangerous people, mentally and physically. And as you read through these, and I think, like I say, I think you'll enjoy it. Take it, if you have to take it with a grain of salt, at least read it and do your best you can understand what they're talking about. For me, I've pretty much known all this stuff for a long time, but I didn't think that too many people would take my word on some of this stuff. And I'd rather bring you to something that would be taught in our colleges. To a psychologist maybe would also look at these things. I'm sure they've had to go over them, maybe not by this particular person or author from a long time ago, but by some professor that has borrowed these meanings and put them in their own writing, because that happens a lot. Matter of fact, some of your liberal colleges, they copy and take credit for some of this stuff. And we know what kind of narcissists those professors can be. You know, when I got out of service, I took a few courses. I didn't get a college degree, by the way. But the college I went, or the courses I took from the college, was extremely a liberal college. And a lot of my peers had went there while I was in the service and came out the other side. I really didn't think much of them when they got out of there, because I went through a different training while they were in college. My training was almost like opposite. So I come out of extreme conservative, and they came out very liberal, and it didn't mix well. As a matter of fact, it didn't even have to be mixed to boil. And a few of them were kind of like hippies. But most of you, if you were born in my era, which is, I was born in the 40s, and my teens were spent in the 50s and very, very early 60s. I spent the balance of my teens in the military service from 17 on. 2 weeks after I turned 17, matter of fact. And I turned 20 when I got out, so yeah. What a time, huh? Yeah, you know, that what gets me too. You know, I had my one of my videos taken down, and you know, part of my early life that I spent time for my country, the United States of America, and you know, part of it is, you know, the flag has always represented our country, and a lot of my peers had different ideas. And a lot of them turned into the things that are on these articles, you know, when I met them later on. Not all of them, but a lot of them did. And righteous people can fit a lot of the things that are on these two articles. And I guess it could be a pet peeve of mine of running across people like that. And I'm not out there to do a major damage to them. What I'd like to do is see them change a little bit. Some of them would have the ability to turn their lives around and do it right. You know, some of them will say, I want you to do what's right. But they mean what's right by their book, not your book, their book. And most people have the good sense to know the difference. And that's why I'm back on here doing what I'm doing today. I put one up the other day, and of course I had the people that loved what I was saying, and I had a few on the other end, and a few that didn't quite understand, and there was quite a few that said adios too. You know, my channel was actually made by or enhanced with subscribers from another channel, and that was the DUI guy, Larry Foreman, and I thank him very much. He's really a knowledgeable guy out there, and I know he cares for some of the people I've knocked, and I hope he forgives me for knocking some of his friends, but in general, I can't say anything bad about Larry. I think he's one of the most intelligent people out there, and he happens to be a lawyer. He has a sense of humor, so if you get a chance, go over there and see the DUI guy. There's another friend of mine out there, the Bearded Fisherman. I'd sure love it if you got on his channel and give him a shout out. He's trying to get restarted out there. He's had some bad turns in his life. He's trying everything he can to turn it around, and he's somewhat of a conservative as well. But he, like everybody else, has his own opinions about things. So it might be that him and I won't agree on everything, but like I say, it's always worth that extra opinion to sharpen yours. You know what I'm talking about, I hope. Two heads can come up with better conclusions, especially if they're both going to listen to the other. Wise men always take in all the information they can before they make a big decision. And it was that way when I was in business. We would have our meetings, and we'd come up with what we thought was the best way of doing things, and we'd get mad at each other temporarily and then go to supper or lunch or whatever it was. Most of the time, the best ideas came in the morning. If we had a meeting at 10 o'clock and we wanted to get through the meeting and go to lunch because we were all hungry, we made up at lunchtime. And then in the afternoon, you're so full, you don't feel like fighting because you feel too good. But that's how decisions are made in business, and I hope you understand how I was relating to that as far as the good things that can come out of meetings. A little bit of food can tame the hungriest lion. Would that be it? I don't know. They say for a woman to get through a man's heart is through his stomach. And there might be a lot of truth in that. My wife is certainly one of the best cooks I ever heard of. Of course, I don't want to take anything away from my mother. She got me up there, and then my wife made me into the adult I am. I have to really tiptoe around. You know what I'm talking about. Your mom is your initial hero. She's the one that dries your tears and combs your hair for you when you're young, and changes your diapers for you. And then you get married, and then that little gal takes over where your mother left off, and it makes it very plain that she now is in charge. I know I laugh about it a little bit, but you know, my wife is a true partner. She really is, and she's a trooper as well. You'd have to be married to somebody like me. Like I told you, in my early days, I had a DA and a leather jacket, boots. When I was a freshman in school, I was the only one in the school that had this little whizzer bike, and I'm not talking about a kit. It was the real deal. It looked like a motorcycle. It's a Sportsman, they call it, and it looked like a baby motorcycle, but it fit my legs fine, and it was fun. And man, I'll tell you what, there was a lot of times I drove that around town and cut through a few yards when well, let's put it this way. When a blue uniform guy sees you, and he sees that you're about 13, 14 years old, he knows you're not supposed to be on the road with anything that's got a motor on it. And so you gotta know how to get through a backyard without running into a clothesline. And this thing would run about 30, I think. It didn't have power and stuff like a real motorcycle, but it sure looked like it. It was quiet, and it was good looking, and everybody loved that little thing. I made a lot of friends with that. Let's see, what can I talk about today? You know, it's not too bad of a day because I'm not trying to lecture you on these articles. Just do me a favor. Like I said, I'm going to put it down below in the little explanation box of what it's all about. I'm asking you to look at it so you can make your judgments in a manner that will protect you. Because these things will protect you for the rest of your life. It's going to allow you you don't necessarily have to judge people, but to be able to see what traits make them to be just a little bit wary of. And that's what I'm trying to get through to you. And even though I put it in my videos, a lot of you hated me for, well, not a lot of you, but a few of you really think I'm a bully and somebody that's just a BSer and all that. I wanted you to understand there's a lot of articles out there that would back me up in my opinions. And so if I can give you two that will protect you more than anything that I can think of in your life, it will help you stay on the right path, okay? These two videos that I'm telling you about that I'll put down below are going to help you. I would hope that you read them and understand them. And if you have to come back and talk to me about it on my channel or something like that, I'll do my best to give you my opinion on it. These are clearly told on the videos that are put up by Stoic Journal. I honestly think you'll agree. I do. I wouldn't push this on you. I know that if you were listening to some professor in the college, how boring that can get. You know, when I went to school, and then of course when I took college courses to enhance my career, sometimes when you don't feel that great and you're not that wide awake, they almost put you to sleep and you hope you don't get caught. But man, I'll tell you, when I paid attention I got more out of the lectures when I paid attention and took notes than I did from looking at the literature sometimes. If I read a book, most of the time I have to read it twice to get a 86% retain what I read. But I can listen to a lecture one time through if I'm wide awake and if I'm interested in the subject. And I usually get it the first time through. Whether I have notes or not don't make a difference, but the note does help me remember it. I have over the years written different manuals for companies, tech manuals and stuff. And I'm sure that they were somewhat boring. I tried to make them not boring by putting a lot of nonsense in there. If you've ever read anything that the military puts out there, you have to have a library to read one book. One manual, I shouldn't say book, manual. It is extremely tough to do and a lot harder to understand. So I never do that when I wrote a tech manual. I didn't put C paragraph C, sentence 17, part B of 3. And that's what you run into with government manuals. They make it very hard so that the layman has a hard time with it. That way you have to hire somebody like a lawyer. What else can I go over? I don't want to knock too many things. That's not one of them days. I'm in a good mood today. Mainly because I found something to back some of my words up. And I wanted to spring it on you and see if you're willing to look at a video that I put out there. I promise you it is something you can use the rest of your life. And I don't care how old you are, you'll be able to use it. And they're words of wisdom. When you're in school, words of wisdom go in one ear and out the other. That's why we get in so much trouble when we're young, and why we have to get burnt once before we realize how hot the stove is. Those are all different ways of learning. Everybody likes to learn on their own, but it's not always safe to do that, is it? Well, I hope you can hear me on this mic. It's got a little bit of an echo to it. And I know, no matter what, I know some of them try to get under my skin. They say, well, I didn't hear you. Everybody else hears it, right? But there's always one that says, I can't hear it. Your mic's gone. And they like to pull your leg a little bit. And what they're really trying to say is, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm not going to listen. But and I know, they think I believe them. They think I believe them if they can't hear it. But we know better, don't we? Huh? Turn the radio up. Use the dial. Get you some earphones. Clean the earwax out of your ears. You'll hear me. You know, the other day, well, no, it wasn't the other day, this morning, I got on, I use SingSnap to practice a little bit when I'm trying to sing. So I got on there and sang a few songs today. And I even screamed a couple of songs in there, so that's why my voice might be a little hoarse. I did that first. Had had to drink a little water with it to get over that. When if I say anything too loud, the phlegm in my lungs gets the best of me, and sometimes that force of air like that brings it up to the surface, and it sounds kind of froggy. Oh, has anybody else out there got anything to say today? Well, if you do, put it down there. Let me know what you got there. I hope I didn't get too boring. Can you hear me okay? You know, one of the best things you can do that I like to do is when I go on somebody's channel, I look at some of the remarks down there to see what I think of the remarks. Yeah. Sometimes they're as interesting, if not more interesting, than the video itself. Have you ever noticed that? But the best part of it is you can make a comment on there if you want to. So you can answer the comment that's on the comments. That's fun. I don't have anything bad to say about Otter Creek today. You know, you can only hammer a town so many times. There was a lot of people that had said something about they had their share of problems before the problems that are there came up. And they probably did. No town is without problems. And the good and the bad, I guess it just depends on which ones win in the race. I don't know. And I really hope there isn't too many down there that fit the parts of this, you know. And I'm pointing at that list, you know, the two things that I asked you to look at. That town, if they were to read that, they would be able to get an idea of what goes on. A narcissist really turns things around. When somebody would criticize them, the narcissist will turn it around at them. They'll find an excuse to be able to turn it back so that you're the recipient of it. They have very thin skin. They do not like any dissension whatsoever. And what they do is they break their people that are closest to them, they break them down so that they do not want to go outside of that circle that he draws or she draws. And they're so tough on the ones that are dissenters that the dissenter thinks it's their fault, and they almost cry over stuff like that. And they're ready to do battle with anybody that's outside of that circle. They really get drawn in. A good narcissist tames the toughest stallion out there, or the filly. They are very good with words. Manipulating is their game, and it's only for one reason. It's for reasons to elevate yourself in some manner. And, you know, I'd said before, if you're the loudest person in the room, in the center of the room, and you never let somebody finish their sentence, there's a problem. It's called narcissism. And when you look around, the next time you look at a meeting and somebody puts their hand up and they start getting up there louder than anybody was in that meeting, and says, I'm here, I'll help you, just give me a call. Well, that might be one of them that kind of people. Oh my goodness. I've heard a couple comedians that could probably give that lecture better than I can. You know, when they start talking about, yeah, that might be a redneck. Yeah, he's got a foam mattress he uses out there in the swimming pool. He put a bubbler on it for a motor. Yeah, with Larry the lineman or whatever he was out there, he was good at that kind of stuff. Oh my goodness. Yeah, when they talk about this stuff on here, the people that are around them, uh, let's put it this way: the people that are closest to them eventually feel trapped, because a narcissist will limit the people within the circle of the person who's closest to him, especially a partner. And they make it so that the partner is always looking for approval. And they very seldom let them finish their ideas before they jump in and make sure that they override them. So what they do is they make them want to be in their presence because their overwhelming personality encapsulates them. And they can no longer think for themselves. They can no longer do for themselves. And in real terms, they won't be allowed to. It's very hard for them to get away from that narcissist. But when the narcissist is done with him, he's done. There's no apathy from a narcissist. They just get rid of that person. And they go through life getting rid of people, friends, business partners. They very seldom carry somebody from beginning to the end. It's amazing how many people out there you're going to be able to identify if you listen to those two vids. It's not me speaking in those vids, people. These are things that have lasted for centuries out there. And believe me, psychiatrists have looked this stuff over millions of times, literally, so they can get this personality thing in their mind. I took courses in psychology years ago, a lot of years ago. But it had to do with a different type of psychology. It was the psychology of making sure that I could read somebody and try to do it so I could read them very quickly, more like an HR person. And after thousands of interviews, literally, you get where it doesn't take but a few minutes to get that first hit from them. And certain magical words that you might use will bring that personality up and out. And the best way to do it is you get them to talk about themselves. The one thing a narcissist is good at is patting herself on the back. They will. Once you get them started, you can't shut them up. Have you ever noticed that? Well, all that's going to be in these videos that I gave you up here, that I'm going to give you if you read down below. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to try to write this stuff up in the description and get this sent out to you and get it up and let you do your thing. If you got to here to this point, say, I made it, Ray. I'll be back. Yeah, just like a bad penny. I'll be there.